What is up YouTube, and welcome back to a new video in the How to Get Brutally Strong series. I'm extremely happy to be taking this series back up, and there should be a lot of episodes coming out in the following weeks, so stay tuned in for that. For this one we're going to talk about wave loading and step loading. I've mentioned these a little bit before in previous videos, but in this video I'll go a little bit more in depth and talk about them and give more examples so you can see how you can use them in different ways, and also use them a little bit in terms of periodization, which is something we are going to dive more in depth into in a later video. But I'll just quickly go over how you can use wave loading, where we are periodizing from focus on higher reps and down to lower reps, and do kind of the same in step loading, where you are building up your base, sort of base building. So just to go over the two to start with, I'm just going to tell you what linear loading is, or linear progress is. I have talked about this before, and you can go back and watch a previous video where I go really in depth on how you can spread out your linear progression to be able to use linear progression even as an advanced lifter. In that video I also talk a little bit about wave loading, because essentially wave loading is a type of linear progression that is just made more sustainable. And honestly, step loading is the same. They're all kind of linear progression, but just spread out so that you can sustain it for longer and recover in between sessions, even as a stronger lifter. So with linear loading or linear progression, an example is going to be starting strings. That is the most basic thing, and I think most of you have heard of it, maybe used it at some point yourself. In starting strings, you're just doing 3 sets of 5, and you're adding 5 pounds every single week or every session if you're doing a lift more than once a week. So you're just going up in one straight path, where eventually you'll fail and you might start over again, or you might do something new, such as beginning to use wave loading. An example of wave loading is Juggernaut 531, where you are using 3-week waves. 3-week waves are extremely popular because they make it really easy and simple. And you can use 4 weeks, you can use 5-week waves, but 3-week waves are how most of it is done. So for Juggernaut 531, the first week you might run up to a 5 rep max or 5 reps at 85%. Then the second week you're doing 3 reps at a bit of a high percentage at 90%. And then for the third week you're doing just 1 rep at 95%. Then you go back to 5 reps and repeat it again with 2.5 percentages added. So each week is going to be a little bit harder, which is essentially what wave loading is, because you're going up in load, then you're going back down in load, and higher in load, and back down a little bit again. So you're creating this wave shape. Then we have step loading. And step loading is one of my personal favorites to use for things, because it allows you just to build up a big base of muscle mass and work capacity, which will serve you later on. So with this example of step loading, week 1 you're just doing 6 reps with 60 kg, week 2 you're doing 7 reps, week 3 you're doing 8 reps with 60 kg still. So we're working with the same load for a lot of time, as you can see here, and that allows you to take a bigger step up in load. As you can see, this is almost a 10% increase in jump, but we know we're going to be able to actually work with this jump in load and do the 6 reps, because we have been able to do 2 more reps here. So this, we can make a bigger jump up in load because we are decreasing the reps by a little bit, and then we're just gonna build back up again and then increase the load. So that is basically how linear loading, wave loading, and step loading works. If you look at like rules for wave and step loading, like what you'll have to be aware of in order to be successful with it, there are two basic things. You have to start far from failure. Like if you're starting from fail, like at a total 500 max the first week, it doesn't give you the ability to add 2.5 percentages the next week or in 3 weeks, I mean. So you want to start far from failure to build up momentum and just get used to the work. And eventually when you get up to the 500 max, like what would have been that before, it's actually going to be way easier. Might only be like an RP8, an RP7. That's not unlikely at all. You'll be starting at like RP5 the first week. Then, second thing, keep jumps small, especially for wave loading. Because if you start to jump like 5 percentages, you're already going to be over like a 1 rep max at like 100% the next week, something like that. You might even start like with 5 reps at like 8%, 3 reps at 85%, 1 rep at 9%, then the second wave 82.5%, 87.5%, and 92.5%. So keeping a lot of stuff in the tank for you to build momentum and hit a higher peak than you would if you just went all out from the beginning. So if we look at the benefits and the cons of each, the benefits of wave loading is that it gives you time to adapt and has easier periods built in. So I already mentioned this, we have the 3-week wave, which is a way for you to adapt, like build up the load, stuff like that. And then you have easier periods where the load is going to be lighter, which generally leads to less central nervous system fatigue. And also you can get creative. There are unlimited ways to set up wave loading, and I'll get to that on the next board, where you'll see like tons of examples of wave loading and step loading. And that's one of the reasons why I like it so much, because you can get really creative with how you set things up. The cons, and this, I don't know if it's even a con, but that is that it can seem like not much happens. And especially when you move weight back in the beginning of a wave where you have to use less load than you have the week before, it can seem like not much happens because it takes 3 weeks to progress, but in the long run it's going to be really good for you. Then for step loading, the benefits there is that the first one is that you master the weight and can handle more volume. That's the thing where step loading really stands out, is that here you're adding more volume, like from week to week. Like you're going from 6 to 7 to 8 reps. You can also be going up from 3 sets to 4 sets to 5 sets, which is like a 66% increase in volume, and then you drop back. Here, you're starting with the most volume, and less volume again. So you're not really getting used to more workload, which is basically like what we want. We want to like build a base. So base building is building up our work capacity and our muscle mass, and step loading is extremely good in that, like for that specifically. Whereas wave loading is not as good. It's better for peaking the max strength that you're looking for. If every one of you watching could quickly do me a favor, that would mean the world to me. For me to be able to continue putting out videos like this and improve the quality and time put into future videos, that requires your help. So if you can either leave a like or a comment on a video, subscribe to the channel, or share my work with a friend, that would be hugely appreciated. For now, back to the video. Now let's take a look at some more examples of wave loading and step loading. So I've listed a whole lot of different examples of each here that are different in the way that you are progressing them. So if you start out by taking a look at the 4 examples of wave loading that I've written down. For the first one, this is one that I've used myself with stiff leg good mornings, where the first week is 8 reps with 75 kg, then you drop 1 rep down to allow for like a little bit of a bigger increase in weight. So you do 7 reps with 80 kg, and then 6 reps with 85 kg. And then you repeat it with 2.5 kg. So this week here, the third week, you're only dropping down 2 reps, but it's a 10 kg increase, so that's obviously going to be harder. Then you only add 2.5 kg, so the first week is going to be easier again. And for me, this has worked incredibly well, especially when starting very far from failure. And you give yourself as long as 6 months to build up to a new PR. For me, when I started, my PR was 8 to 80 kg, but that was 1 year ago, and I hadn't done any stiff legs good mornings, but I knew that in general, my hamstrings and my glutes and my back were stronger than they were the last time. So by the time I was up doing 8 with 80 kg, I could do like 15 reps. And it wasn't until the 7th week that I was doing 8 with 80 kg again. So I had a really easy time beginning to break PRs this way, and was able to build up to like 100 kg or 95 kg for 6 reps before getting my hamstring injury. But that doesn't mean that this is a bad way to progress. That's totally my mistake that I got injured. The next one is focused more on a drop in sets that allow for an increase in weight or intensity. So the first week you're going to do 60% for 5 sets of 10. The second week, 67.5% for 3 sets of 10. And the third week, you're doing 75% for a set of 10. And after that, you add 2.5% for each week and repeat. So if this wave looks familiar, it's because it's taken out of Juggernaut program from Chad Wesley Smith. And I think this is extremely good. And this is not to be like compared to the whole program. This is just a single middle cycle where you're going to repeat the same thing over and over again instead of dropping down in reps, which you would do in the Juggernaut program. Then we have another example here that is a little bit different, because with this, the volume actually increases. So you're going to start out with doing 3 sets of 12, then 4 sets of 10 the next week, and then 5 sets of 8. So you go from a total of 36 reps to 40 reps. And even though you're doing more reps, like here where you're going from 36 to 40, you're doing one more set, but you're dropping down by 2 reps. So you're definitely going to be able to increase the weight a little bit. So you're having a total higher workload. And again here, you're not doing more reps, but you're able to increase the weight again because you're dropping down by 2 reps. Even though you are increasing the sets, it's going to be easier to do that at the same weight, obviously. So you're actually going to have a higher workload, where if you look at these over here, the weight increases, but the reps decrease throughout the wave. So you're actually having a lower workload. And that is why this is one of the things I think is extremely good. If you're doing like bodybuilding, you can use this 100% as a way of progressing instead of like using double progression or something like that. This one is going to be totally suited for bodybuilding. And then the fourth one here is focused more on an increase in the effort. So we have had an increase in weight where like the weight increase means our reps have to drop. Then we have had one where the decrease in sets has meant that we can increase the weight. And we have one where we are adjusting both the reps and the sets to allow for more work to be done at a high weight. And now we have one where we're going to be doing the same amount of reps all the time, which we haven't done for, and the same amount of sets all the time, which we have not done for any of the other stuff. Here the weights or the sets have changed, but now we are adjusting the effort every single time. So the first week is going to be 5 reps at RP7, so with 3 reps in the tank. The second week is at RP8, and the third week at RP9. And then you simply repeat, starting with a little bit more weight. Now looking at step loading examples, these are more suited for like bodybuilding, I would say, because you're focusing more on doing more work and you're building a base which is good for building more muscle and work capacity. So the first example here, we're doing 3 sets of 8 with 60 kg, then 4 sets of 8, then 5 sets of 8, and add 5 kg. And you might need more weeks to be able to go from 3 sets to 5 sets and repeat some of the stuff. But this is just to show that you're working with the same weight for a long time, then making a bigger increase in jump than you would usually be able to if you're just doing like linear progression and doing like 3 sets of 8, then jumping up 2.5 kg, 3 sets of 8, and so on and so on. The workload goes from 24 reps at 60 kg to 40 reps at 60 kg, so obviously a huge increase in workload. The next one here is one of my favorites because we actually know that we have gotten stronger in this way. So here we are focusing on the set feeling easier, so we're going to be doing the exact same weight, sets and reps, but you're going to be increasing the weight when it feels significantly easier. So the first week, our lifter here does 6 reps with 60 kg and an RPE of 9 with 1 rep in the tank. Second week at RP8, third week RP7.5, that has a bit of a rough week where it feels like an RP8 again, but then after that it breaks through, and in the 5th week it's RP7, in the 6th week it's RP6, and then in the 7th week, because we're now down at RP6, where we feel like we could actually do 10 reps, while in the first week only 7, then we are increasing the weight in the 7th week to 65 kg, knowing that we can do this comfortably. And as soon as this feels like RP6 again, we increase the weight up to 70 kg. So by using this type of progression, we can definitely tell that we have become stronger. So the last type of step loading example that I have is one where we are not only increasing the number of sets, but also the number of reps. So this is a little bit more difficult and requires the product to start further away from failure in order to be able to sustain it, because it is very aggressive. You're going from 24 reps to 50 reps. You can obviously do this in all kinds of rep ranges. You can do like 3 sets of 5, 4 sets of 6, 5 sets of 7, and then it's going to be like 132% increase in workload. Actually, I think like even more, maybe like. But the point is that this over here increases the workload as the week goes on, while this over here in the weights has a way lower workload. Like we're going from 50 reps here to 10 reps, like a little bit higher load, but you're going to do a lot less work. So this is more suited for the people, the one of you that want to lift as heavy as possible really often. As the last thing for this video, we're going to be taking a look at wave loading, where we are periodizing our trainings. So we are using block periodization, where things are put into blocks, but we don't repeat the same thing over and over again, because with all the other progressions that I showed you with wave loading and step loading, we have basically just repeated the same wave with the exact same number of sets, reps, effort, and so on, but just with a little bit increase in the weight that we're using or something like that. So that was basically all examples of linear progression actually, but just a little bit more like pulled apart. So the progression takes a little longer and can be used with more experienced lifters that can't add weight every single week, can't progress forward every single week, but might have to do it every third week, etc. Now, what we are going to take a look at here is block periodization. So if you take a look at the classic powerlifting periodization that are really common, really focused on RPE, where the first 3 weeks we have sets of 5 reps here with an increasing RPE. The next 3 weeks from week 4 to week 6, we're not repeating the sets of 5, but moving on to sets of 3. And for the last part, we're doing sets of 1, again with an increasing RPE. So we're not just repeating the same thing over and over again, but now we're actually working towards something, which is why it is called periodization. So we have different periods where we're working on specific qualities. So we're working here towards a new 1 rep max, for example. And again, the weight is still waving up and down. So we might do 150 kg in the first week, and RP7, then 155 and 160. Then for the set of 3 reps at RP7, you're using 157.5 kg, 162.5, 167.5. Then for the week 7, 1 rep at RP7, you're using 165 kg, 1 rep at RP8 is 170 kg, and 1 rep at RP9 is 175 kg. Another example is going to be the Juggernaut program, which is one of my favorites because, as you've heard me talk about a lot before, I really like AMRAP sets because you can get in so much easy volume and then just hammer yourself at the end of the workout, and you're only doing 1 hard set, so it's not going to be that hard to recover from. You can definitely recover from it from week to week. So with Juggernaut, you start with the first week at 5 sets of 10 plus reps, then 3 sets of 10 plus with more weight, and a set of 10 plus with more weight, so over 75 percentages, just all 1 set all out. Then you drop to 5 sets of 8 plus with 65 percentage, so less weight, less reps, and on a, like in the first 4 sets, and then but a lot more total volume because you're doing so many sets. So this is one of the things I like, that you have this huge spike of volume every single wave, while here you're just dropping down volume each time. Here you're getting used to a little bit more volume in the first block or the first week of the block, and then dropping down to 3 sets and then 1 set. At the end, you are doing a set of 3 or more reps with 90%, just like 1 set all out, really heavy, after which it should be possible for you to hit a new 1 rep max. So again, we're working towards something here, so which is why this is periodizing. Now the last one here is different, because here we are focusing more on like base strength. So I forgot an E here, I just realized. But I mean base strength. So again, 9 weeks. Now instead of doing less sets over the weeks, you're doing more sets and then dropping the reps. So you're going from 3 sets of 12 with 55 percentages, then 4 sets of 12 with 60%, 5 sets of 12 with 65%, and then you drop the load back down to 3 sets of 10 with 60%. So that should give you an opportunity to recover and get ready for the next 2 weeks that are going to be more difficult, especially the third week of each wave is very demanding. 5 sets of 10 with 70% is a lot of work, but you should be able to do it because you've had these 2 easier weeks to build up. And here you go from like 36 reps to 60 reps, 30 reps to 50 reps, 24 reps to 40 reps, so it's going to be extremely big increases in workload of 56% within each wave, which is why I really like this more for building a base, while we will go from something like this for 9 weeks and then over to something like this after, where you can actually be pretty certain about what your age rep max is here, which is the one you're going to be doing 5 reps with at RP7, because you have ended here with 5 sets of 8 and 75%. So you can go from this over to something like this, over to something like this here. That works extremely well because you're building that base, where you're building up your work capacity and your muscle mass, all the things that you need to be able to handle higher loads eventually. So yeah, this is all for this one. A bit of a longer one here, but I hope you enjoyed it and liked it, and yeah, basically watched the whole thing. And if you like the thing, as always, remember to leave a like, tell to a friend, share the video, and subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you all for the next one. I'm out.